Hey folks, welcome to this look at one of the new features of Worldographer. This is part of the demo of Worldographer 2025, which we are currently crowdfunding. We'll be crowdfunding it through October 8th, and we've made a bunch of usability improvements, a refresh of the UI, as well as a slew of new features and extra icons and so forth, and it's really worth a look. So we're trying to get the word out as best we can. We'll have a link to the crowdfunding page, which will also have a link on there for a link to the demo, so you can download this and try it out. The demo is actually fully enabled through the end of October, so you'll be able to give it a good try and see if it's worth it to you, and if it is, we hope that you'll consider backing it. What we're going to show here is the notion of swapping out your icon sets, particularly for a world map, because we've got a few others. One of them is one of the other icon sets that we have is something called Ringlord, and it's not built in the tool. We do have three icon sets that are built in the tool for world maps, but this is not. This is something that we did through our Patreon a year ago, and we're supporting that going forward as well. You have to bring these into Worldographer, which is a pro feature. Like I said, that's enabled right now for the demo. The demo will end at the end of October. But if you do want to bring it into your Worldographer, you can set up a configuration folder, which is just a matter of creating a Worldographer folder in your user documents area. But if you need to change it to something else, you can use the change configuration folder to change it to something else. And then, if you set it up with a bunch of subfolders in there, then it will recognize those subfolders if they have a features folder and or a terrain folder inside of them, and then show up in a dialog that looks something like this. Now, I did mine by year because we've been doing a monthly Patreon, so I can go to 2023, for example, and I can pull up and I can check the box for Ringlord, and that would bring in my Ringlord icons, both the features and the terrain and textures, if there are any of those as well. But if I was doing a battle mat and I wanted to do Celtic things, I've got options for that as well. We've done 70 icon sets. That's also part of the crowdfunding too, is to get our backlog of icons as well. The other way that you can bring them in is you can go to add custom terrain and add custom features and add custom textures. And bring them in sort of semi-manually, where it'll just give you a file chooser, and you can mass select many files at once or a whole folder if you want to, but that's another way to bring them into the tool. And then you can configure them as well, which will be kind of outside the scope of this video, but you can tweak the colors and tweak the sizes and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you, though, how to swap out the icons on setup with the new World Kingdom map icon or dialog. And this serves two purposes. Like I was saying, if you do have another icon set of another style that has your mountains and hills and forests as well, you can kind of use it as a one-for-one sort of replacement to the built-in icons for the world generator. Or if you want to do a completely different thing, like an elemental plane of fire or a Feywild or something, and you've got icons that are a good fit for that, you can bring those in as well and use and swap those in to the algorithm. Now, Worldographer is still trying to do something kind of plate tectonic-like to create the landforms and the mountains and hills, and then applying the vegetation based on the settings that you've got over here and the desert and so forth. And then it's going to take those results, the terrain that it does, and then it would swap in the other icons that you want to use. So if you wanted to have, if you've got acid pools and basalt pillars and flame plains of flame and so forth, you got to figure out what would make the most sense to swap these to get you something close to what you want, and then you can customize it from there. So to do that, we're going to go and open up the configure terrain used. And that brings up this dialog. The dialog is a little bit big for the recording space that I'm using right now, but the only thing really cut off are three buttons: load settings, save settings, and OK. And we'll get to that in a moment. So you can swap in any terrain that's installed into the program by just picking the drop box and scrolling through. If you don't want to scroll all the way through, you can just delete and type in, sorry, must not have had focus there. Delete and then type in, and I'll just type in Rocky again, just so it'll be easy for me to find what we had picked before. But it has everything that has Rocky in there, so that you can kind of quickly get pull up Rocky Desert, for example. So you've got that option for all of these here. And so that's how you could go through and you can pick the Ring Lord options, or, like I said, the Elemental Plane of Fire. You can pick your Basalt Pillar or whatever it is that you're looking for. Once this dialogue doesn't remember that from run to run, so it's important for you to save the settings and load settings. Like I said, those are two buttons that are just off screen here. I'm going to load the settings that I'd previously created, which swaps in all the Ring Lord stuff. And so if I scroll through here and go there, you can see that pretty much everything has Ring Lord replacements except for the Water Ocean, because Water Ocean, actually there might be built in a Ring Lord Water. Let's see. I might have something. It would only vary by the yeah, so we don't, because it's only going to vary by the color, so we didn't bother with that. So let's, we do need to set it to something though, or else the generator won't know what to do. So we're going to do Classic Water Ocean. And then we can go ahead and hit run, or hit OK to close this dialog first, I should say. And then we can hit Generate Map. Now, real quickly, just talking about, we've gone over over these in more detail in other videos, but this lets you set up the size of the map, of how many hexes you want it to be, and and the size of the hexes. This is something that you typically can do later. In fact, it's almost better to do it later. These generate your coast. It's kind of better to let the terrain be generated first, and then generate the coast once you've had a chance to tweak things. But if you want to do everything all in one step, you can check these boxes and change the settings a little bit if you need to. Otherwise, you can go to the Generate menu after the map has been created and do these later. And then, as I was saying before, these settings here control how much land and vegetation and so forth there is. It is important that you have Generate Terrain on, because otherwise, if you have all one terrain, then you're going to get a blank map or whatever type of terrain you've picked over here. So you do want to have Generate Terrain on. You want and you can see that we did get our terrain updated. So this is already, the preview has already been impacted by our choice there, I believe. And then you want to have is for full world, because if you say is region, then you'll be using a different configure dialog for a region instead. And we can show that's what this looks like. It does a terrain wizard, does a nearest neighbor fill type thing. So yeah, you have is full world on. Then we hit Generate Map, and here we go. We've got our world. Now there are a couple of terrain types, particularly Badlands, that get used in the algorithm later on. It was kind of a late addition, and so it's not set up to auto convert that. We'll probably have that updated in the next couple weeks. Probably even before the crowdfunding ends. But zoom in, see the beauty of these. Now, we did pick the cultivated farmland approach here. I probably would, yeah, let's show you how easy it is. We can go ahead and say, so we could do two things. We could configure the terrain and turn off that if we didn't want it at all. But if we still want it sometimes, if we want to be able to add it later, we can go to Configure Terrain Used again. Go to our load settings and go through my files here and pick Ring Lord, and then here in flat farmland, instead of doing a instead of doing a farmland full, we can do like a farmland. Actually, we want to see if we can find a blank farmland blank. That would be ideal. Otherwise, we'll just have to do farmland light. Ooh. Let's do blank. Let's see what other blanks we've got here. So we've got Ring Lord, Parchment blank, yeah. So this is just going to be our farmland color, because that was kind of like a default. That's kind of like a base. So we can use that. So we hit this, generate it again, and now Yeah, so we have a couple of more, we had some wetlands up there. Where was it? Yeah, up here. So this is another thing that got swapped in later. So we'll probably have a few more options for you to pick those and replace those as well. But yeah, that gives you the nice look of the of this style map. Now, if we wanted to say that we've got, we do have some farmland here, we can go to Ringlord, pick this, and we can also filter for farm. And so here we've got our cultivated farmland. If I check this on, then it's going to kind of look at all the similarly named things. Like if it's AB, if it's farmland cultivated A, B, C, D, it'll pick A, B, or C or D when I place it down. So you can see, that happening there. Oh, yeah, there we go. And if I wanted to have something heavy, heavy farmland, for example, I can do that as well. So that's a quick look at this feature of Worldographer of being able to swap in other terrain. As I said, this is a demo, it's an alpha, it's something that we're still working on, and so we'll be making a couple of additional tweaks like, allowing you to change in, swap in a Badlands as well, and a moors or a, evergreen wetlands, whatever we're calling that. So again, this is Worldographer 2025. It's a demo of the current crowdfunding that we're doing, and if you please do give it a try, and if you find it's worth your while, please do support the project. Thanks a bunch.